You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hi, friends. The world got you down. Don't be sad. Listen to $2 Late Fee with Zach and Dustin.
$2 Late Fee is the podcast that celebrates the best decade of entertainment, the 1980s. We pick a movie and soundtrack from our youth that we loved and see if it holds up today. We also interview your favorite celebrities from that era.
All in the spirit of positivity and togetherness. Check us out at $2latefee.com.
Yo, listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world, and all day and all
In the late 90s, 3 DJs living in Italy spent a few hours creating a club track that couldn't even keep people on the dance floor. That would quickly change thanks to a little radio airplay, and before they knew it, Blue became an international hit. The song is equal parts catchy and silly, but what exactly is it about? This week, we're joined by Eric Taft to help figure it out. Beyond producing, engineering, and playing in the Great Heights Band and So Fetch, Eric is also secretly one of Eiffel 65's biggest fans. He helps us dive into the lyrics of Blue and figure out what's really happening in this Europop classic.
One hit is all you need to make the money guaranteed, and you can live off royalties forever.
And it makes me wonder, is it just a wonder, or is it one-hit thunder?
So Eric, I knew this day would come, the day that we talked about Blue by Eiffel 65. I can't believe it took this long. I assume you chose this song because it's one of your favorites, right?
Oh, yeah. It was my AIM away message. It was, no, not really. It's, this song really speaks to me. No, I mean, it's funny because it's definitely a song that I listened to a lot as a kid,
Really?
It was massive. It was a really big song. Oh yeah. I'm sure we'll get right into that.
You're the first person I've ever met who said they listened to Eiffel 65 Blue a lot.
There are dozens of us, Chris. Dozens of us.
Well, I would assume that there's probably more than dozens because this was a gigantic song.
It was massive.
Yeah, absolutely huge.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting is this is my prediction. I think that Eric heard us saying how Johnny consistently picks songs that will be at the top of our end of the year retrospective list, and knowing that he did Save Ferris, which was at the bottom of last year's, he said, "Ooh, I can go lower."
No, I don't know. We got a lot to talk about with this one. First of all, Matt, before we go say anything bad about this, I got to say, as a person of Italian descent, this is the music of my people. This is important to me. Yes,
it's like your national anthem.
Yes, Eiffel 65 is an Italian music group, and I couldn't even think of any other Italian music groups. Can you guys name another Italian music group?
The Three Tenors.
Okay. Yeah, I figured we were going to get into some
some opera
some
right off the bat.
I think of That's Amore song. I don't even know if that's by an Italian person.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Oh, he's from Steubenville, Ohio. So that's what I think of when I think of Italian music. Sorry to my ancestors. I don't really know much Italian music. I was also really interested to find out this song has verses. I never knew this song had verses before today.
Oh, they're great.
They tell a story.
There's at least one line. Let me find it. There was one line when I was typing up the lyrics where I was like, "That's what he says." Blue like my Corvette. It's in and the outside. Had no clue what the fuck he was saying for the last 20 years at that line.
What does that mean?
His car is blue both in and outside of it, but.
Oh, I thought you meant when it's inside and when it's outside. Like in his garage versus outside of his garage. It's blue in both of those because that doesn't make any sense.
No, Chris, the thing is that while this is an Italian band, this song is written by a dude from New York who just moved to Italy to pursue his like DJ career.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that. I thought they were Italian guys. Well, let me start with this. Eric, you are a producer and engineer. From that perspective, how do you feel about this song?
So I went through and listened to it again this morning. Actually, I listened to a lot of the album Europop this morning. Very nostalgic listen through. But the thing that really stuck out to me sonically about this song is how terrible sounding the vocal in the beginning sounds. When he's like setting up the song, he's like, yo, listen. And it starts off almost like a hip hop song.
Right.
Because literally the first line is, yo, listen up, here's a story. And it's like, is his life about to get flipped? Turned upside down, like where are we going? But I was really it really stuck out how not great that vocal sounded, just like engineering wise.
Yeah,
really heavy use of autotune and stuff. It's like,
so there's a reason for this. So I do have to reveal our sources on this one. Vice very briefly ran a series called The Story Of, where they did, I want to say it's 6 or 7 episodes of the stories of almost borderline one-hit wonder songs. And they did Eiffel 65, Blue, and they talk about in that documentary that Cher had just dropped Believe, and they're like, we got to do whatever she's doing with her voice. But they didn't have access to autotune, so they didn't know that that's what they could do. So he's like, it's literally like us running the vocals through the keyboard to make it sound.
Oh wow! So they
like digital.
It. Like,
yeah, so he's like, you isolate the vocal track and listen to it, and then you isolate the keyboard track. It is almost the exact same melody line because his voice is being played essentially through the keyboard.
Yeah, Cher really
cool.
changed the game with that song. She really
did.
ushered in the new age of music.
So let's see, this song came out in '99. Right?
Yeah.
I was all of 8 years old when this song came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that Eiffel 65 and hearing this guy's like heavy vocal effects was the first time that I heard an autotune effect even before Believe, just because of the music that occupied like an 8-year-old's like life sphere versus like Cher was not, super in my ether kind of thing, whereas like Eiffel 65, this like goofy song totally was.
It seems like if you were 8 years old and this song came out now, there would definitely be a Minions version of this.
For sure.
This is definitely a song that 8-year-olds would like. Down to, which you started to get into, Eric, what I think is really funny is it starts out with a poorly recorded verse vocal of, yo, listen up, here's a story. But I will note, the story. We got to talk about what the story is or lack thereof. So I want to go through this story and see if we can make any sense of this. So it starts out, yo, listen up, here's a story. My ears perk up. I'm ready for this story. Yo, listen up, here's a story about a little guy that lives in a blue world, and all day and all night, and everything he sees is just blue. Like him, inside and outside, blue his house with a blue little window and a blue Corvette, and everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around because he ain't got nobody to listen to. That is part one of this story.
Here's my takeaway. Like, up until a certain point, it just feels like a Dr. Seuss story. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, guy lives in a blue world, whatever. Where I get lost is because he ain't got nobody to listen to, feels completely disconnected from everything else that he's done, which is just setting up that this is just an all blue world. And then it's like, oh, there's a reason for this blue world, and it's because of this singular little guy has no one to listen to.
No one to listen to him. And then in the hook, he's proclaiming, this is my truth, I'm blue.
Well, wait a second. Nobody to listen to him. It says because he ain't got nobody to listen to.
Yeah, he's got no music. He's got no music.
So to be honest with you, I always thought it just stopped at listen because he ain't got nobody to listen. That's what I thought it was a delay tail, and that the two that you hear is actually the repeat of the first two. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, what I'm taking away from here is everything blue because he's sad, because he has no music until the chorus hits. And then is this deeper than I thought? Is the blueness around him then turned into song, which then makes the blue a joyous thing. I'm blue, bow beam bow bow beam bow.
Let me ask you a question real quick while you're right there, because I remember being a kid and hearing 1,001 different interpretations of what he's saying after blue. Now, he's gone on the record and said it's literally just what it sounds like. Bada dee, baba die. But there was a ton of different ones that I heard. I'm curious, what were some of the ones that you heard?
Oh, I only ever heard one, which was if I was green, I would die.
Yes.
Which is a big one. I'm blue,
Which
I'm
I love
blue,
it.
dabba dee, dabba die. If I was green, I would die, dabba dee. I thought it was like a hodgepodge of both.
That actually might work. I'm blue. If I was green, I would die. Okay, I like that. I never thought that. I believe it's I'm blue, bow beam bow bow beam bow. That's how I deciphered that.
But
Now,
you're
am I
also
wrong?
hearing it played through a keyboard, so it's anyone's guess. Really, we should be asking the keyboard what it's saying.
All right, but let's move to the next verse. Maybe that answers more questions.
Well, okay, so
I guarantee you that it will not.
Well, we've established he's a little guy. He lives in a blue world. Everything he sees is blue. His house, he got a blue little window, a blue Corvette. Everything is blue. We've established this.
For him and himself.
There's also something else that's worth noting, because I would say that the opening line is fairly clean vocally compared to the rest.
Albeit poorly recorded.
And it is in a different perspective, right? He's saying, yo, I'm going to tell you a story about a little guy. When we get to this next verse, the voice is more robotic and it's all eyes.
Yep.
So now we're in the perspective of the little guy that we were introduced to in the beginning.
Wow. So the first verse is in the third person talking about the person who is coming in the second verse here.
Yeah, he's setting the stage. He's saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to bring out someone for you."
Okay. And this is what we get. I have a blue house with a blue window. Blue is the color of all that I wear. Blue are the streets, and all the trees are too. I have a girlfriend, and she is so blue. Blue are the people here that walk around. Blue like my Corvette. It's in and outside. Blue are the words I say and what I think. Blue are the feelings that live inside me. I knew it. I knew it the whole time. I knew it. I get it.
What you get is that you think that he's just super depressed.
Yeah, I think that is what is going on here. I mean, the sound of the music does not match that feeling, but Matt did send me a live Eiffel 65 show clip on YouTube that I watched. And if you felt this way inside and then you went to the Eiffel 65 show and you joyously sang the song about being blue, it's like a yin and yang. It's these sad lyrics that go along with this absolutely uplifting music. You know, is that what's going on here?
It could be. This is going to shock both of you, I'm sure, but according to Eiffel 65, they wrote this song in under 2 hours.
No.
Which...
Really? Man.
Are you telling me I have a blue house with a blue window? Blue is the color of all that I wear. Was written in under 2 hours? That can't be true.
There's that one line in the first where it's everything is blue for him and himself.
Yes.
Like, okay, well, that's implied by the him. Like, I feel like we don't need that.
We don't see a lot of that that seems like a bad interpretation by someone that speaks another language.
No, totally. It's maybe they wrote it in Italian and then they just popped it into the 1999 equivalent of Google Translate.
So here's the story. Here's the story as I understand it. And this is kind of insane, but apparently there was a studio in Italy that was called the Blisco Studio. And their whole thing was that they would just bring in producers and DJs from Italy, and it was just make tracks, we'll send them to the clubs, and if they do well, then they do well, and if they don't, we'll just try another one. So this dude from New York heard about this studio, moved to Italy just to work at the studio, befriended 2 other Italian DJs, And in 2 hours, they threw together this song. They decided to name themselves Eiffel. But when they were printing the labels, they had accidentally written down a phone number, and the first 2 digits of the phone number started with a 65, and that got on the label that they had sent to the graphics team. So the graphics team thought, oh, they're called Eiffel 65. Print this graphic with the name. They're like, fine, that's our name. They're convinced that they have a banger. They are excited. They go to the club, and the way that he describes it in this documentary is he says, we dropped the needle on this song, and it was as if someone yelled, hey, there's free drinks at the bar, because the dance floor completely cleared out and no one cared about the song. And we said, well, this is trash. We had 1,000 singles printed. We didn't even sell more than 200 of them. We thought, well, that was a nice effort. And then out of nowhere on April 1st, 1999, they get a phone call that someone started playing the song on an Italian dance station, and the request line was lighting up with people wanting to know more about this band. And he's like, I think they said like within a week we were on tour. Like we were like, all right, pack it up. We're hitting the road. This is the time. But this is like just thrown together craziness. And also, I just want to mention, you listened to that album Europop?
Oh, yeah.
BBC Channel 4 called that album the greatest album of the 90s.
What? Yeah,
That's
someone
amazing.
called the Eiffel 65 album. Let's go through some of the albums of the 90s. I believe that Nevermind was released in the 90s, if I remember correctly. Yep. I believe that
multiple Bjork albums by your girl.
Yes. I was gonna say I believe the Bends was released in the 90s. I mean,
did they say the best album, or they said the best?
No, best album of the 90s is what it says.
Matt, are you sure they didn't say the best Italian novelty album of 1999?
Now, again, I'm working off of Wikipedia here.
Oh, I just typed in right before the episode.
Yeah,
that was
Europop was crowned as the greatest album of the 90s by Channel 4. Let me see this site. That is, the reference point is Eiffel65.com.
Oh, come on. That's why you got to check your sources, man.
You mean it's their best album of the 90s?
Yes. This is Eiffel 65's best album of the 90s.
Made in the last year.
In a list of the 100 greatest albums of the 90s by Channel 4, Europop came out at the number 1 on the list, is according to Eiffel65.com.
Wow.
Ranked by Eiffel65.com, these are the top. This is the top Eiffel 65 album of 1999.
That I believe.
I believe. I'm all for that. This is something you listen to the whole album, so you obviously know their other single, "Move Your Body."
Oh, of course.
Which I watched that music video today, and I wasn't familiar with the song before, but it was like somebody trying to do Pixar style animation, but like from some strange strange place in like, I don't know, an Eastern European country that doesn't really know how to do it.
Well, it was a sequel to the Blue video. Did you watch the Blue video?
You know what? I couldn't find the Blue video. I just found like lyric videos and stuff.
Oh, so Move Your Body is a direct sequel to the plot line of Blue.
I had no idea.
In Blue, a bunch of blue aliens kidnap the lead singer of Eiffel 65, and he's putting on a show, and his other 2 bandmates have to fight all the aliens to save him, but then they realize that these aliens love their music, so they're just going to hang out on this alien planet and keep making bangers, and that's where Move Your Body starts off.
Pretty great plot, if I'm being honest. So I don't think I've ever seen the Blue video either, just being young and not really having like access to, like, me and my brother didn't watch MTV or VH1 until we were like, you know, in the double digits, and I was still 8 at that time, so we didn't really have access to the music and also obviously YouTube and like streaming music videos was certainly not a thing. So I kind of like had an image of what the singer looked like in my head, and it was like
was
a total
Blue?
Yeah, of course, because it was and it was a complete fabrication, because it's like, okay, there's this alien sounding voice, he's singing about being blue, and I like picture, you know what I'm saying, like when you're hearing an artist for the first time, and like especially if you're young, you might kind of come up with like a weird image of what that song kind of like procures in your mind. So I had a little bit of that, but yeah, I mean, I never saw the actual music video. It's interesting to know that it's tied with Move Your Body.
What percentage of people at this time who hadn't been to Vegas or really just had a loose understanding of what it was assumed that this was the Blue Man Group? Like, that's the Blue Man Group. I would have assumed that a lot of people would have thought that, right?
That's how they should have performed, honestly. They should have looked like a bunch of Tobias Fuques up there on stage. Like, I think that they bring up, this is the last thing I'm going to reference that came from that Vice documentary, but they do make a really good point. And they said that one of the reasons why they thought that the single didn't work at the time was that it was too poppy for a dance floor, but too dancey for a pop chart. But he said that eventually it caught on, and he thinks it was because it sounded nothing like it at the time. And they were talking about how now they're doing these reunion shows because they're like, now our music doesn't sound that far off from what Black Eyed Peas were doing at the time of the documentary. Was like 2010 when they were doing like Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling. And I'm like, he's actually got a point. Like, the Eiffel 65 sound, like 10 years later, kind of was a lot of the shitty pop music that got on the radio. So this song was weirdly ahead of its time in a strange way.
They also had the whole wacky voices thing going, which always, I mean, it's a crapshoot. If you got a wacky voice, who are some of you guys' favorite wacky voices? Like, for example, you got Fred from the B-52s. Such a wacky voice.
Perfect.
Iconic wacky voice.
You know what? Okay, I got one. I got a wacky voice, and we do need to do an episode on them one day. But Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning.
He has a wacky voice?
Not during the chorus, but think about the verses. It's like, ow, when the sound.
How about Rammstein? Du.
Yeah.
Du hast.
Yeah, but they're European. So how much of that is wacky and how much is just an accent?
I guess Europeans are always going to sound wacky to us a little bit. Or to me.
But which was the guy who was from New York? The singer or not the singer?
The singer. The singer was the New York guy.
So why does he have an accent?
Yeah, he doesn't fit in that mold, I guess.
I just searched wacky vocalists, wacky singers on Google, and here's a few of the ones that popped up. Was Adam Ant, Joe Jackson, Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh is a good one.
I can never pronounce his last name. The guy from the Cars.
Rick Ocasek.
Rick Ocasek. Yeah. Neil Young and Buddy Holly among their wackiest. Devo is also on
Mark
this list.
Mothersbaugh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the only one I really agree with there is Joe Walsh, who I went and saw the Eagles a few months ago, and he is just wilder than ever when he's singing. There is, I've never seen a looser singer.
Oh, Talking Heads, I would also throw in
David
there.
Byrne.
Sure, but you know, deep down there's good.
Yeah, that's a weird list. Singers. That's a weird list. I definitely wouldn't put Joe Jackson on it either.
No,
I was confused by that one.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard. PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Hello out there! Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much! We'll be seeing you!
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice. The album is called Europop, And that is a thing in that world. I mean, look at that movie, the not so good Will Ferrell movie about that.
Eurovision?
Yeah.
Yes. I actually thought that was an okay movie. I laughed a couple times, I think. But that is think about Aqua. You definitely have the come on Barbie, let's go.
You want to
Barbie
talk about
guy.
the other CD my brother and I had growing up and listened to front to back is Aquarium. Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's not a bad album.
No, and have you seen their live videos from like 2012 where they're like full on rock band production? It's pretty sick. The whole album is called Europop, and it's actually kind of weird because the artwork on the Spotify version has them. It looks like the cover of Millennium, the Backstreet Boys album. It's like frosty, like blues and purples, and there's a picture of the band. The CD that we had this like really cool. It was all black and had like a picture of an eclipse on half of it. I don't know if you've seen the alternate.
That's what I remember the cover being.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So it really threw me off. And then the Spotify version has like all of the remix versions. There's like 19 tracks on like what is really like a 13 song. Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm.
That cover's great.
It's pretty cool. I know. It looks way cheesier with the artwork that's on Spotify.
I have a question for you as a person who also creates music, and I think about this a lot. Everything I do musically, all of my musical projects, I'm always trying to, collaboratively create something beautiful. Create something just heartwarming that touches your soul. That I don't know what I'm what I'm getting at here. I'm trying to
substance.
make something great. But do you ever think like, man, I could make something in 20 minutes that's goofiest shit ever. I always think about how we always talk about making this "Have You Seen My Cat" song with punchline. Like, there's plenty of examples of this that if you just put it out there like this goofy thing, especially in the age of TikTok and stuff, that you could make $1 million from some goofy thing you made that's just like
probably.
This, I think about that a lot, and I think sometimes maybe I should focus on making stupid shit.
I mean, it definitely opens up kind of like a dangerous can of worms where like you get that first bite. It's like, shit, I wrote a song called "Where's My Cat?"
Have you seen my cat?
Have you seen my cat? And then it hits it bigger than, the other punchline songs. And that's great. It's shitty. That's, what I'm saying? Like as an artist, it's like, oh, fuck.
Don't you wish you wrote Baby Shark?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's like billions of views. Could you imagine the amount of? You're set for life because one day you went Baby Shark, do 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 do, Baby Shark, do do. All right, switch the animal. Baby goat, do 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 do.
But you switch the family member.
Yeah, it's a mama shark and then a daddy shark.
Right.
But like even something like a previous, probably the most comparable song that we've done on this show in the past, the Macarena, like that song is still in 2022 among the top 10 best-selling singles in the history of music.
Jeez.
And that, you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Like, what is there to that song, really?
A dance. That one I understand. There was a dance that went along. There was a dance you could do at a wedding.
That's true.
That went along with that one. So I get any song. That's another song. I've talked about this many times, Eric.
Cha-Cha Slide?
And if I was in a room with you right now, I'd say, let's do it. I want to write the next song that's like instructional dance. Like, now you put up your hand. Now you put out your foot. Do the Eric and Chris.
Yeah.
Do the Eric and
it's
Chris.
It's all in the name of the dance. If the name of the
right.
dance is like intriguing and compelling, then it's like, well, what is that all about?
Right.
The Cha-Cha Slide just like stumbled into a beautiful, because that one is going to last forever, right? The Macarena is going to last forever.
What is that from? What is the Cha-Cha Slide even, like, where does that originate from? Is it not?
No, just Mr. C, the Slide Man, wrote the Cha-Cha Slide.
Oh, he wrote it himself, did he?
but like,
big slide fanatic, is he?
but then think about like the flip side of that is like there are songs that when we were kids, they were like minor dance hits that no one thinks about, like "The Dip" by Freak Nancy, like nasty,
Freak Nancy.
Freak Nancy. That song never gets played anymore, but like the Macarena, which is older than it, still pops back up. And I think the same will happen with the Cha-Cha Slide. The Cha-Cha Slide's not going anywhere.
I think the Macarena had a big stint on like Jock Jams CDs.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh, it lived on the Jock Jams albums.
Yeah. So and those were big. Those were really big. I think if you got into the sports world where you could be played at events and not just clubs or dance type events, then you're automatically opening up a whole other market, because the sports people and the dancing people don't necessarily cross over.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So like there's something to be said. Like you don't hear the Cha-Cha Slide, you definitely didn't hear dip at sporting events. The dip.
I bet you hear Blue. I'm trying to think. At Penguin games, I always hear, at every Penguin game, I hear Sandstorm and the other one. So there's one of them that goes, yeah,
that's Sandstorm.
That's Sandstorm.
That's Sandstorm. And then there's the other one that's like Sandstorm. It's called like Zombie. Is it called Zombie?
Zombie Slide. Oh,
yeah.
Zombie Nation.
Yeah, Zombie Nation.
Zombie Nation. Those two songs get played at every Penguins game, and I'm like, why? Why are you playing this? It's like between face-offs or whatever. They'll play those, and I feel like Blue might get played too.
It could be. I'll tell you, when you're talking about the Jock Jams, the other artist who benefited greatly from Jock Jams was 2 Unlimited. When they got Y'all Ready for This? That was like they're like, oh, we never have to write and record another song for the rest of our lives because it's going to be played at every sports stadium for here until eternity.
I got our song. It's called "Let's Go, People," and it's gonna go like this: "Let's go, people! Let's go, people! And then it's going to show people. The camera's going to go to different people, like standing in the aisle dancing.
Yeah.
Let's go, people! I wrote it. I wrote it right now. Let's go, people!
Yeah,
Chris wrote it in an hour and 59 minutes quicker than Eiffel 65.
Can you cut this part, because this is now copyrighted intellectual property. Copyright Chris Mathias 2022.
This is my IP. Remember those notes.
Okay.
So
you got
the
it?
other thing that is worth giving a shout out to Eiffel 65, because something this dumb only really succeeds because there's hooks in it. And until I literally sat down and started hit play on this song to prepare for this episode, I forgot how catchy that piano hook is that plays over and over and over in this song. That's where the gold was in this song.
Yeah.
You take that out, I don't.
Is that? It mirrors the hook melody.
Yeah.
There's a different. Yeah. It starts right off the top with the badly recorded intro.
But it's like they just figured out, they found that little do 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 do, and just were like, how many instruments can we play this riff on and stack on top of each other? And it's that's because you could release this without any vocals whatsoever, and I still think like a Sandstorm or a Zombie Nation, it would have actually caught on, because that is such a catchy hook.
Yeah, totally.
The vocals just make it more sing-alongable.
The verse melody is weird, though.
Yes.
There's some weird notes where he's like, he's just it's like, oh, that's a throwaway on the last note. What's
everything
resolution?
that I wear.
Yeah, well, yeah.
These verses are irrelevant and unnecessary. I didn't even know there were verses in this song. These are the most forgettable verses I've ever heard. But Matt, you have a good point. The melody is catchy. Take that and put it 8-bit and put it in a Nintendo game, and it's like, whoa, this is great. This is whatever. But
you should put it in a PlayStation game instead, because Eiffel 65 has an entire song just listing PlayStation games. That's the whole verse.
Real? Okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
Dude, Chris loves songs where they just list things. It's his favorite genre.
Favorite.
Yeah, big fan of We Didn't Start the Fire, are you?
Oh, yes. The time has come, fellas. Eiffel 65. Thunder or blunder is the question.
It depends who you ask, is my answer.
Well, we're asking us.
Well, I think it's I feel like within if you're looking at staying power, right? Mm-hmm. This song is definitely ingrained in the pop culture at large. Just like you're saying, it's still played at sports games. It still comes up, and if you hear it out in the world, in the wild, it's not that jarring to hear. You're like, oh, they're playing Blue. This is a massive song. I get it. Now, is it good? Is that the question? Is that the Blunder versus Thunder question?
Well, also the rest of their catalog. Did they follow it up? I think they had like 2 more albums after this. I admittedly did not even.
They broke up when their DJ decided to pursue a solo career, and there was like a lot of squabbling over who was the true writer of Blue. I'll tell you what, they seemed like nice enough guys in the Vice documentary, but I'm still going to have to say that this is a pretty big blunder.
Oh, I didn't know we judged Thunder or Blunder based on how nice the guys in the group are.
Listen.
Have you gotten called out about that before? And then the guys hit you up and they're like, oh, they're actually good guys.
Oh, wait, yes, look, that has happened many times now.
That's what I'm saying.
We have had to bite our tongues because the artist, believe it or not, Eric, we had it happen like 5 weeks in a row or something there. We had a run where it was like every week the artist was hitting us up and was like, yo, you got this wrong, you got this wrong, you got this wrong. We're like, sorry we called you a blunder.
That's why I just like to make sure it's known they seem very nice. Blunder.
Okay. All right.
I would love to, before I give my answer, which I have an answer, I would love to go through the rest of the record a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So many of the songs Blue starts with that laser sound, the choo-choo-choo.
Yeah.
Okay, so many, like I would say half of the album starts with either a laser like that or like some kind of downward sweep that's just like choo, or like almost half of the songs, I would say. And it's like, so that's like what, 6 songs on the album. You should check out the one called My Console, where it's literally just, if you grew up on PlayStation, it's a geeky listen. It's not a great song by any stretch, but it literally is just listing out PlayStation games. I don't know. I listened through again and remembered, like, a lot of them came back and were really familiar. There was a song called Your Clown that is very, very, very reminiscent of Depeche Mode Violator era stuff, which is like kind of neat.
I do need to stop you right now because I just remembered this when you mentioned the PlayStation thing. The music video for Blue in that Vice documentary, they said, we spent all the time in the studio playing Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation. We're like, can we make a music video where it looks like we're in Metal Gear Solid?
It's the second one that they mention is Metal Gear Solid.
I just put up the lyrics and saw that that's it's the first game they mention after they name drop PlayStation. They say, I'm going to play a game on my PlayStation all day with Metal Gear Solid to Tekken 3. Yep. Which what a bend on a line right there.
But then they name it in the verse too. They go Tekken 3, Metal Gear Solid in the verse. So they just
Resident Evil, Gran Turismo, Mega Boost, X-Files, Another World. Come on.
X-Files is funny because it's not known as a PlayStation game franchise. It's known as a very, very, very popular TV show.
Chris,
but it's like, it's...
The chorus seems to be them just spelling out PlayStation.
Guys.
They were trying to get like an endorsement or get into a commercial or something.
Guys. There's a combined, I don't know, Matt plays some music too, but between you and I, Eric, what do we got? 40 years of writing, recording, composing, arranging music, and this fucking band made an album in an afternoon and went Tekken 3. And we're deciding if they're Thunder or Blunder right now. Like,
I'm not deciding. I told you I have an answer.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you continue.
Oh no, it's fine. I liked that Matt gave the backstory about how they got the number in their name, because it seems really appropriate in the era of all of the like noun and number bands. They were like, it's like the Sum 41 or Blink 182 of like techno, which is kind of funny. No, Blunder, full on.
Okay.
Full stop. Period.
Yeah, I mean, this is very.
It was. I will say I enjoyed my listen through today. I have like one of my other good friends. I say occasionally, like once in the past like 2 years, we've put this record on and like gone through and be like, it's not. And it's not a great listen through, but it's nostalgic, and I think that's probably where Blue gets the majority of its staying power, is like that. And it's so ridiculous that it I don't know, it stays in people's minds because of how stupid it is. I think that's where it comes from.
Right.
No,
well, I'm going to give this one a blunder.
Yeah, no.
What?
That's where I'm at with it.
Really? It seemed like you loved it so much.
I can't. I was going to pretend to like this. I just can't even do it.
No,
it's no have you seen my cat, but come on.
No.
I see through your fake pretending anymore. You've played that. This song's too dumb for you to even try to pull that card.
I can't do it.
Eric, if people want to check out some of your stuff, where's the best place for them to see what you're up to?
erictaft.com. Just my name and then a .com.
I love that you got erictaft.com. I feel like there could have been another Eric Taft who snatched that up before you. I'm glad.
Yeah, you could have been erictaft65.com.
You know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. So yeah, erictaft.com. Check me out. Instagram @Eric_Taft. I play in a band called the Great Heights Band from Baltimore, and and I love Eiffel 65.
I was gonna say you play covers too, right?
I do. Yeah, I play drums in a band called So Fetch, and it's all 2000s like throw from the year 2000 to 2009, 2010 ish. We do all of the hits, everything from like Eminem, Real Slim Shady, through like Nelly to like Avril Lavigne.
You gonna throw Blue into the rotation?
No, it's 1999. Hard cutoff. Hard cutoff. We do all the small things, but that's only because the single dropped in January of 2000, whereas the Enema came out, and so there's like we do kind of get a little hard and fast with that. But
what about the fact that this bad boy peaked in April of 2000 up against such songs that I'm sure you play like I Knew I Loved You, What a Girl Wants, Smooth by Santana, Back at One by Brian McKnight, and let's see, any other good one? Hot Boys by Missy Elliott, or My Love Is Your Love by Whitney Houston.
I want to hear So Fetch play Blue.
I do.
We should do it. We just did a big show actually at the 930 Club in DC and almost sold it out. It was wild.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Congrats.
So we're really stoked doing lots of stuff. So yeah, I'm keeping busy with all that, and then
that's great.
Studio shit,
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, and just sitting around talking about Eiffel 65.
Yep.
How many times am I gonna have to start again? How many times am I gonna have to refresh? 'Cause I put my shoes on every day and I walk out that door. I'm getting tired, waiting patiently for progress.
This has been One Hit Thunder. One Hit Thunder is hosted by Chris Fafalios of the bands Punchline, Pack, and Another Cheetah, and produced by Matt Kelly of Geekscape.net. Underneath me, you're hearing the new Punchline song, Can I Get a Break? Visit punchline.com for merch, tour dates, and news. Also, we're on Patreon now. Become a patron and get some bonus content, early episodes, and a chance to vote on future episodes at patreon.com/OHT podcast. Do you want to start a podcast? Contact Chris and I at weknowpodcasting.com for how we can make your show sound as professional as possible. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app, and tune in next week for another episode of One Hit Thunder.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard, PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
What's up, everybody? I am Finn McKenty, host of the Punk Rock NBA podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. My podcast is all about doing what you love for a living, and every week I sit down and talk to people who have done exactly that. For example, musicians like Tommy from Between the Buried and Me, Matt from Periphery, Lil Lotus and Shinigami, among many others, photographers, artists, designers, YouTubers like Glenn Fricker and Sarah Dici, and I unpack exactly how they got to where they are today with the goal of helping you do the same. So if that sounds cool, you can listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com, and I'll see you there.